if I'm going to create a perfect week of exercise that's also natural and healthy, but that allows you to stay fit, especially if you, like most people, are working a sedentary job, or you're not a construction worker or a painter going up and down ladders, or building fences or hauling rocks for your day-to-day existence, in which case you probably don't really need to go to the gym at all. There are certain boxes that you want to tick off. For example, one is strength. How much force can you produce? One is power. How explosive can you be? So those two elements would be, for example, for me, lifting weights a couple of times a week. I do super slow training.
2 to 3?
3 max.
3
Yeah,
max.
three max. It kind of depends how much time I have available in the gym, but it's one single set to failure, super slow training.
One set to
Yeah,
failure.
yeah. And there's a book called Body by Science by Doug McGuff, and he goes into the science of time under tension of the muscle, and how if you get anywhere from 90 seconds to 2 minutes of time under tension, and you do all of that in one set, then one set will suffice to maintain muscle, and in some cases build muscle, as long as you're going heavy enough. What that style of training does not do is build the quick, explosive, wiry muscle that is actually more heavily associated with longevity than strength is.
Tell me
Yeah.
more about super slow training, specifically, like how many exercises will you do total?
So I choose multi-joint exercises because you're going to be more efficient in the gym than if you're doing leg extensions, leg curls, bicep curls, etc. The way mine looks is deadlift, chest press, pull down, squat, overhead press, row. I can simulate that with free weights. I can do it with Nautilus machines if I'm at a hotel. I have this machine at my house called an ARX, which is like a 2 horsepower engine machine. It's like fighting a giant robot for the 2 minutes, but you get super strong. And the idea is you're moving the weight very slowly with a lot of control. It's anywhere from 10 to 20 seconds up, 10 to 20 seconds down. But the nice part is once you're done with that one set, you're done.
Yeah.
So that's a couple of times a week. And then for the power, for the quick, wiry, explosive stuff, I like to use kettlebells and body weight. So kettlebell swings, box jumps, quick push-ups, monkey bars in my backyard, like anything that is a little bit more faster and more explosive.
And how many kettlebell swings would you do typically?
Oh, like 10 sets of 10.
10
Like
sets of 10.
quick, heavy, long rest periods. You try not to build up a lot of lactic acid. It's just fast and explosive. So the strength and the power, if you do the math on that, you might be spending 20, 30 minutes max on the strength training for one session. So 2 full strength training sessions, maybe an hour. And then the power, you've got maybe another 40 minutes or so. So those are about 20-minute sessions. So for cardio, we were talking about...
And you don't do them on the same days?
No, preferably not. I mean, there's one variation of super slow training where if you don't have the time to do the power training, you finish that one set to failure and you kind of bounce at the end range of the motion, and you can do a little bit of power training with that approach. With the cardio, that also you can kind of like blueprint into certain categories of cardio. So we talked about one, the long, slow, easy fat burning cardio. For me, that's just walking. I walk on a treadmill during consults, Zoom calls, podcasts. I walk outside, so 10,000 steps a day. That's easy as far as the fat burning, fat oxidizing aerobic cardio. Then there's 3 other boxes to tick. One is your lactic acid tolerance. So we covered lactic acid, but the idea is that similar to fast, explosive, wiry muscle, similar to grip strength, and similar to VO2 max, which I'll get to in a second, lactic acid tolerance is another variable that's associated with longevity and overall fitness. So for lactic acid, it doesn't take long. All you do is you do a quick burst and then you recover for a shorter period of time than you exercised. So this would be, have you heard of a Tabata set before?
Yeah.
Like a classic Tabata set where you do 4 minutes of 20 seconds hard, 10 seconds easy, a couple of times a week. So I like to use that as a warm-up or a finisher for a strength training workout. So again, you're attacking just a little bit of
extra
extra time.
Is the 10 seconds important?
The important part is a fast effort that's sufficient to build lactic acid quickly with a shorter recovery period than the effort.
Right.
So that 2-to-1 work to rest ratio, and this was something that I think his actual last name was Tabata, the researcher that developed this, that was shown to actually increase your lactate tolerance.
Mhm.
So it's just, there's other ways you could do it. I mean, you could probably do 30 seconds, 15 or 10-5 or whatever,
Mhm.
but 20-10 works well. And also there's even, a lot of the Concept 2 machines and the rowers and the bikes, they even come pre-programmed with a Tabata set right in there. So
Mhm.
it's easy to do if you have one of those machines. You've got, in addition to lactate tolerance, mitochondrial capacity. It's the ability to engage in mitochondrial proliferation, to build new mitochondria, to maintain mitochondria. For that, it's different than lactic acid tolerance training. It only requires once per week, but it's explosive 30-second-ish efforts with luxuriously long rest periods, like 2 to 4 minutes in duration. So this would be like 5 30-second sprints with 2 to 4 minutes of very easy recovery, or easy light pedaling or walking between each. And again, that's just once a week. And a lot of people hear about building mitochondrial density or building lactate tolerance, and as is common in the fitness industry especially, people will do something like that every day, or think they have to do it multiple times per week, or think to build my fat burning capacity I got to ride a bike hard for 3 hours 3 times a week. But it's much easier than that. So mitochondrial training, what I just described, 5 30-second efforts with long luxurious rest periods once per week, that's doable. And I've done the math on this, and when you put all this together, you aren't exceeding this Goldilocks zone of exercise, but you're ticking off all the variables.
So you're
The
talking about less than an hour of exercise daily.
Without the walking would be extra, and I encourage people to just engage in that non-exercise activity thermogenesis. Neat. I classify walking in that category, right? Like taking the stairs instead of the elevator, parking far away from the grocery store, etc. So the walking doesn't count with that, but everything else would be within an hour. The last piece of the aerobic is the VO2 max. And this is probably the hardest part of maintaining good overall cardiovascular capacity, but it's the one that you need to do the most seldomly. So VO2 max, this would be once every 1 to 2 weeks. It's 4 to 6 minutes of maximum sustainable pace cardio, as hard as you can go with good form. So let's say you're on a bike and you have it set at level 12 and you're pedaling at 90 RPM. You would not want to be at 80 RPM at the end of 4 minutes. You want to be able to maintain 90 RPM, but still have a feel like about an 8 on a 1 to 10 scale. And then the work to rest ratio is 1 to 1, right? So you go for 4 to 6 minutes, then you'd recover for 4 to 6 minutes. And you do that 4 to 6 times through.
Wow, that's
And,
hard.
and this is the gold standard way to improve VO2 max. The nice part is that's only once every couple of weeks. When I was super into VO2 max training, I would program songs where I'd have one song that was really upbeat and intense for 4 to 6 minutes, and one that was relaxing for 4 to 6 minutes, so I didn't have to watch the clock, which is one way to do it. You can just program in a play set to get you through a VO2 max workout. But that is combined with a couple of times a week a Tabata set, once a week a mitochondrial set, walking throughout the day, couple of strength sessions, couple of power sessions. And the only missing piece, if we're not counting things like, heat tolerance, cold tolerance, I jump in the cold plunge when I get up. I do a sauna a few times a week where I'm reading or stretching, is mobility and maintaining what I call young muscle. So working out fascial adhesions, cross-linking of fibers, all those things that can cause you to become injured, especially with age. So I don't really base what I do for that on deep science of how often you should do mobility training, but every morning I give myself 15 minutes to just make love to a foam roller and stretch and use the exercise balls and the percussion gun. I usually do it within an hour of waking up. And if you do the math, every week I'm getting the equivalent of 75 to 90 minutes of self-inflicted deep tissue therapy. Since I started doing that, I've had far fewer injuries. You get the mobility done with early in the day. You combine that with the strength, power, walking often, lactate, VO2 max, mitochondrial training. And if you step back and look at that, that's a full system for hitting all parameters of fitness, but doing so in bite-sized pieces that don't exceed that Goldilocks zone.